Hello everybody, welcome back to another video. My name is Zach, otherwise known as Pulpy Syntax, and today we're revisiting our girl, Miss Amberlynn Reid, and I've thrown it back a little bit to look at her kind of direct address to Hayder Nation from the end of May this year. I don't consider myself a part of that group by any means, and I have seen this video before, and it did trigger an emotional response. So I thought we'd jump into it and have a discussion.
Hey guys,
Hey.
So I hate that I have to film this video, but it's part of the binge eating saga that is going on my channel right now. So I have
a saga I feel like is a continuous storyline of Amber's narrative, but go off, sis.
Opened up about binge eating. I have talked a lot about it. I have opened up about things that I wouldn't even want to open up about with people in my real life. I
don't necessarily believe that. Perhaps she's spun tales or opened up about things that she thought would get her attention. You can argue the truth of the validity of those claims till the cows come home. I don't understand how you can have such a community and audience like she does, and still claim that you're so raw and real, but not with the people in your life. That just seems a little strange.
I've bared my soul into sharing, that part of me, and I'm ashamed, I'm embarrassed, I am being vulnerable, and I almost feel like I'm being mocked, and there's just so much disrespect around my eating disorder.
Yeah, I mean, she has quite a unique hate viewer fan base, which is, I mean, I would hesitate to blame her directly. A lot of the hate obviously comes from her direct actions. Whether or not this was her intent all along, hard to tell.
It is cruel. It is just the lack of sympathy, which I'm not asking for sympathy, but for the lack of a better term or word, the lack of sympathy regarding the subject.
I think it's more empathy that she should be reaching for. Sympathy and pity, like no one needs that. And I mean, perhaps like that is an element of truth to her storytelling, is that she is doing all of this to claim sympathy. What she should be striving for is empathy. She should really try to build familiarity amongst her audience and herself, because her vlogs are literally her trying to showcase like her lives. Yeah, empathy I think would be much better in this situation.
Is very sad. I do what I ate today videos.
Yes.
When I am losing weight, when I'm not losing weight, I do what I ate today videos.
Bread and butter.
And people always call me a liar. They say, this is not what you eat. I want to see the truth. I want to see what you eat during a binge. You didn't get to be almost 600 pounds.
It is hard because her audience is only asking for what she provides. She provides all of these details of, oh, I went on this binge, oh, I've been binge crazy, oh, I haven't recorded in these last few days because I've been, eating really badly. Your audience is just asking for the evidence of that, right? Like, they're just asking you to do what you normally do, but expand upon it. It is interesting as well, because I've been watching Amber on a new account. A lot of like binge related videos have been coming up in recommended, which are all like trigger warning, like 3-day binge on bulimia. It's all a bit crazy, and I might react to one of those. I'm almost grateful that she doesn't do that, but I understand that from an audience perspective, the frustration of being told and not shown.
Just eating that. You didn't get to be 500 pounds with just eating that. People are constantly calling me a liar when I do what I eat today videos. I have never.
They don't call her a liar when she's doing a mukbang, because that's like Eat With Me and mukbangs in her example, I think are exactly the same thing. It's just I'm going to sit down and eat 7 chicken wings. The content of her plate may differ based on mukbangs getting like a little bit more attention, I think, but yeah.
Hands down, lied in a what I ate today video. I have no reason to whatsoever. I will admit that I do choose days to do those videos where I am eating less because overeating.
So a great exercise from this argument may have been, I'm going to do what I ate a day for a week straight, right? She talks a lot about, it takes 2 or 3 days and then I'm off the wagon again. It would be interesting for her to cut a video of, here's everything I ate for 7 days. Does she need to? No. If she wants to, appease her audience, then maybe something like that would have been useful.
And overindulgence, it is pretty embarrassing. But binging is a whole other level. But people are constantly telling me, why don't you film a what I ate today video when you are having a binge day or a binge night? I almost feel like I've been manipulated into it because I get a lot of people saying it could be good for education reasons, you could help other people, you might be able to bond with your audience more and things like that. And it really got to me. So I was like, you know what? I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna film everything that I eat during a binge day because that is what people request of me, because I'm constantly being called a liar every single time I upload a video.
Okay, like you don't need to make excuses for the reasons why you agreed to do something. You could have just said here, my audience has requested this of me, I didn't feel comfortable with doing it, so I didn't. Or my audience requested this of me and I wanted to make my audience happy, so I did this thing. It's the old adage of, you wouldn't jump off a cliff if your best friend told you to do it. Yeah, she doesn't seem, I don't know, she goes between like being like hyper aware and in like total self-control of her image, to then making arguments about, oh well, my audience were super loud about seeing this one thing, so I had to do it.
Today video, so I was like, all right, let's do this. Let's do, a different version of what I ate today. The comments are disgusting. People are still calling me a liar about what I ate during a binge day. That's crazy. Like what would be?
I think it's hard as well because she's been on this channel for so long that you've seen the super healthy, you've seen the fad, well, not super healthy, but you've seen the focused, so you've seen like calorie counts, Weight Watchers, and then you've seen fad diets, and then you've seen the binge excuses. So it's really hard for your audience because there's a lack of consistency when it comes to the content. And she blurs those lines a lot. So it's like, oh, what I ate in a day. Oh, this was my binge day. Oh, Weight Watchers. And it's also like the timeline is so hard to follow for people, that of course a lot of the audience is going to say, well, of course not, because you've gone in, how long has it been? Like 5 years maybe? From your 300-ish pounds when you first started to now almost 600, well, at your heaviest, almost 600 pounds. So a lot of the time, people would argue that not the whole truth is being shown. And I think that's the core of the argument.
The point in me showing that, if I didn't show everything I truly ate, there would be no point. There's no productivity in it. It's just, I'd be lying to my audience about something that is so serious to me. I can't comprehend.
It's very serious to her, but to her audience, it's not. Someone else's diet is not impacting her, like your audience. What you film doesn't realistically impact your audience. They can ask for what they want to see, but you're not directly impacting anyone by the content or the style of video that you put out, Amber.
All. I swear it's almost like people want me to be lying just so they have more stuff to talk about. The people who believe my video, there are a lot of you who are just like, this is so disgusting. This is pathetic. I can't believe you're like this. You do not say that to people with an eating disorder. Eating disorder.
I mean, I argue for human kindness and say that you shouldn't say that to anyone. Yeah, like I said, she does have an audience of hate viewers, which makes it really challenging. But someone should offer her advice. Whether or not she's going to follow it is a different discussion. But I wish someone would offer her advice on how to handle being in a spotlight, because I just don't think I think she revels in the attention a lot of the time. But I don't think she knows how to care for herself when it comes to feedback and criticism in particular.
Orders are not chosen. You don't wake up one day and choose to binge, to have that urge, choose to...
Again, not hyper educated on binge eating disorder. I have read that there are discussions about the validity and the process of diagnosis for it, because obviously it's a mental health issue and that's already tricky enough, but it has to do with an evolutionary trait that is necessary, which is eating, and how our body kind of reacts to calories. So her talking about it is hard because the majority of us know that she doesn't have a great track record when it comes to seeking help. So there's a big argument about whether or not she has been specifically diagnosed with XYZ. That's fine. She's done videos about like the cancer stuff before, which was heartbreaking. So I think from an audience perspective, whether or not she's been diagnosed with something isn't really an argument or a call for us to make. That's fine. She's the one telling the story. But if she has been diagnosed with binge eating disorder, my understanding is that you would be receiving some form of help, whether or not it's a nutritional plan or therapy, or, both mental and physical health should be cared for in this instance of what is broadly referred to as an addiction. The reason why people question it so much is because she doesn't show herself getting any of that help. She's like, I feel empathy towards her, because she quite often comes across as, I can handle this myself, I've got this, I can do this. A lot of people take that for laziness, and that may well be the case.
Have an eating disorder and have it ruin your life. And that goes on both spectrums. And I don't know anything about the other side of it, but on my side and what I have dealt with for a lot of my life, this is not something I chose.
No one chooses it, but how you react to it is a choice. How you handle that, or how you live day to day. That's absolutely a choice. Whether or not you go out and get assistance, or whether or not you are in a situation where you have people who care for you to assist in that. Some people aren't so lucky. I feel like Amber's quite lucky in relative terms, because she's not living in a third world country. Her job involves her showing her off, and yes, that's a detriment to her mental health, but she's not exerting large amounts of effort and energy to survive. She has her basic needs, and she has a partner, and she has a mother who, spoiler alert, comes and assists her when she truly needs it. which is great. But some people don't have a lot of those things, and are still able to live relatively happy lives, handling things some may argue are more challenging to deal with than binge eating.
Words being thrown at me saying I am pathetic and disgusting and all of these.
Don't call people that. Like, pathetic and disgusting, you use those in relation to situations, but like, you don't have to call people that.
Horrible things. You guys really need to look in the mirror. You ask for these types of videos, I give them to you, and you are disgusting towards me. It's not right.
Saying that directly to camera is pretty harsh. I remember this video getting a lot of traction and a lot of reaction to it, but just that moment of straight to camera, you guys are disgusting. For someone who's been on YouTube for the length of time she has, I think that was just a poor choice of framing.
And I think what messes with me the most is that this is just such a toxic community. This community is so toxic, and I did not create that for myself. A lot of people think I did, but I didn't. It is the reaction channels. There is a couple in particular.
Okay, so now she's just like straight up blaming other people. This is kind of like a lengthy discussion topic, but there are arguments to be made about the benefits and the negatives to go along with people reacting to you. So the great thing about YouTube is that you can just sit down and react to someone else's content. It's a thing that you can do, and you have been able to do within copyright limits forever, for a long time, right? People could be sitting here and reviewing music or a book or an album, film, whatever. This style of content can be criticized and reviewed and discussed until the cows come home, because it's not replication. But I suppose the difference here is that if I sit down and I discuss, review, and criticize a film, that film's director is not going to come back at me with, well, how dare you criticize me here? I was having a bad day here. You know, this actor had this injury, da-da-da-da-da-da-da. It's not personalized because it's not an individual piece of media. Whereas with vlogs and YouTube channels, obviously you put a bit more of your heart into everything because you do take things as a personal attack.
Particular, there's a main one that we all know who it is, who is disgusting, right along with the trolls and the haters. For anyone to think it's okay to literally react to anyone with mental illness problems, with indecisiveness.
Indecisiveness is not a mental illness problem, I don't believe. I think that's just a character trait. As to her calling out anyone reacting to anyone else with a mental health condition, I'd argue she's just straight wrong on that. I mean, it's whether or not you're reacting positively or negatively, and how the individual putting themselves out there is going to react to that. Ironically.
Because of mental illness problems,
it's a hard thing to talk about because I don't suffer with any diagnosed mental health issues. I do have family who have worked in mental health care for a long time, specifically my mother. It's a hard argument because societally we try to handle mental health with both kid gloves and from the aspect of treat everybody equally. You are an adult, or if you're in reference to an adult, you are an adult. You have, the capacity to make your own decisions and choices. Reacting to a piece of content surrounding an individual with an illness, condition, or disorder connected to mental health can be tricky, but for the most part, you just need to, again, have empathy towards that person as a human being. And it's useful, not always required, to have an understanding of where that character or story is coming from. You don't have to be a sufferer of the same thing. You don't have to be well educated in the same thing. It's usually up to the media form itself to convey story, emotion, and thought, and it's about framing. But you can't use mental or physical health as a kind of coverall for criticism. It just doesn't work that way.
Someone who has a cycle because of mental illness problems, and someone who is morbidly obese because of an eating disorder and a food addiction is...
The phrasing there I disagree with. You are super morbidly obese currently because of your caloric intake. Whether or not it has to do with BED, that's not my decision or argument to make. She just needs to... I don't want to call out a mental health issue as being an excuse for her. She doesn't handle the mental health issue. It directly impacts her physical health. And she does use it a lot as reasoning. But she's not doing anything to assist with that health. So she is super morbidly obese because of the caloric density of her diet.
Unbelievable. It's unbelievable.
Yeah, how dare.
And the fact that me sharing what I eat in a day during a binge and I get attacked, there are still reaction channels reacting to it, saying rude things.
Reaction channels are allowed to react to it. That's what they do. Saying rude things, that's entirely their choice. And reacting to it overall is, again, entirely their choice. But if they believe that they're coming at something with a unique perspective that they wish to talk about, this is a great way of doing it. Social media is a void. We just scream into it, whether or not that's in written, video, audio, whatever form. But everybody has the right... Another argument. Everybody has the right to their own opinion and how they voice it. If they're doing it in a negative way that directly impacts another human being, I'm a believer that that's not a great way to do it. But everybody's a little bit different in their delivery. Again, it's a lot of blanket statements in this conversation.
It's wild, and it's because of the community that is surrounded in my life. I just can't even explain it. Like the community that watches me, it's so crazy to wrap my head around that I literally am getting paid for people to treat me as a punching bag. Because that's
okay. So I've told this story before. I started watching Amber at the start of 2020, end of 2019, and her content was the reason why I started losing weight, because I saw a group of content makers who I didn't want to turn out like. And I was well on the road. At my heaviest, which was late 2019, I was categorized as morbidly obese. I'm now overweight. So baby steps, we're getting there. There's a place for her content. absolutely, but I just think that her expectations are a lot different to what the reality is for her.
Literally it. Because if I was anyone else sitting here talking to you about my problems, whether they be mentally, physically, or my disorder, the comments would be completely different. And you cannot sit there and tell me.
I don't think they would, though. I mean, I'll draw a parallel to another YouTuber with an eating disorder being, what's her name, Eugenia Cooney, right? Like, that was a whole big thing. I didn't follow that specifically. I just know of her and her content through pop culture reference. So take everything I say here with like that lens in mind. She's not unique in receiving negative criticism, and whether that's valid or just trolling, she's not unique in that situation. She's kind of making this argument here that if she wasn't who she is, then she would receive sympathy. But that's not necessarily true, and it may be true for people who don't have a history of manipulation, but it's where we are for Amber.
It's because of the mistakes I've done in the past, or it's because I have an attitude here and there. Those aren't excuses anymore. This has all just become too much. It's disgusting. And I just...
Also, I'm not arguing that she doesn't receive, like, disgusting hate. She absolutely does. And individuals, you know, I'm team humans can do better.
You guys have to realize that I, as a person, am nowhere near as bad as the people who are part of Hayder Nation.
The irony of this statement is that she's making judgment calls on other people, without kind of realizing that that falls into criticism, right? Like she's basically saying, well, you know, you guys are so hateful and so negative, and you know, I'm a better person. It's just my disorder that's bad. That's not a great mindset, in my opinion. But then on the flip side of this conversation, she's now arguing that, you know, anybody who's a troll or anyone who has anything negative to say is worse than her. And it's an interesting perspective for her as well, because she never really seems hyper competitive in anything, and whether or not that's kind of motivation or laziness or whatever, lack of motivation, but when it comes to individuals and people, it almost seems like she is, well, I'm better than this person, and this person's worse than me, and oh, this person's better than me because of XYZ. It is quite a strange, not strange, I mean, I understand this mindset exists, but it's foreign for me, and it is strange to see on Amber, who again doesn't seem hyper competitive, doesn't seem, you know, specifically driven or motivated to be better, to be best.
And Kiwi Farms and reaction to...
Oh, I'm not on Kiwi Farms, so I've said this before, I don't get a lot of the drama that happens outside of YouTube. I like to keep everything kind of just to this lens, because it's interesting to see media through the eyes of the creator, I guess, and keeping it to that rather than like the outside life that's going on.
Channels that call people, you know, sodium whales and saying things about cheese curds. It's not cute. No. It's not cute. It's not funny.
I'll agree that it's cruel if it was said in a fictitious manner, then yeah, it would be funny. But because we're talking about a real human being, it's just rude. And whether or not that rudeness is justified, it's entirely up to the individual and their own opinion.
People enjoy it because it's drama. People enjoy making fun of my disorder because I'm Amberlynn Reid, and no matter what I go through, it's a joke and it's funny and it's a lie.
Yeah, that does seem to be the opinion of the majority of her audience, but it is also kind of the way she takes things. I'm not trying to shift blame onto Amber at all. But from my understanding, she seems to take negative criticism in the same basket as hate, and she doesn't really delineate the two. Also, she can absolutely be of the mindset of, I am untouchable, I am uncriticizable, no one can criticize me. That's fine. If that's the case, she needs to step away from the comments.
I have had this whole story and narrative created by strangers where once I turn off the camera, I have all these people in my life who think completely different than these strangers online, which thank God, because
of course, because they're seeing so much more than what you're willing to show, which is fine. I mean, it's like arguing that everything you see, recorded in this room is everything that I do. It doesn't make any sense. The problem with this statement for me is that you have all of these people in your life who see you so differently. If they saw what the internet saw, even just through the YouTube lens, perhaps they would be more willing to have discussions with you about receiving care or receiving help.
People in my life love me, care about me, and they know that
Your audience doesn't need to love or care about you. Your audience is here to receive media for whatever their own personal reasons are.
Good person, and I'm fun to be around, and they have to constantly remind me you need to ignore the people online because they don't know the real you. But it's just
yep. Ignore all of the stuff. Look, people's opinions don't matter to you anyway. Water off a duck's back and all of that. The issue here is that a lot of the time she'll say, guys, I need help. Guys, this isn't working and I don't understand why. Or, oh, I'm doing this thing, like Optavia or whatever. Like those things come to mind. So it is hard because you're asking both for interaction with your audience, but also want to be very selective about the content of that interaction.
Crazy that there is a whole different life and a different person that you guys don't know. It's almost because a big portion of you won't let yourself get to know the real me.
Saying this and having a vlog channel is kind of conflicting for me. Oh, you guys don't know the real me, but I vlog 3 times a week. So I mean, that kind of statement can make your audience a little aggravated as well, because it's like, oh, even the people who react positively to you, could kind of argue, well, why is there any praise, or why is there any, positive affirmations from me if what you're saying is, this isn't who I am, but they're your vlogs.
Because it's so fun to be part of this like mob of just disgustingness. And I keep using the word disgusting because it is repulsive. It is actually disgusting. That is literally the word for it. And this goes beyond even just my disorder. It's like I posted a Snapchat rant that people expect an apology for, and I'm not going to give it because that was for Hayder Nation and the trolls and the people who say cruel, disgusting things in the comments. If you guys haven't done that, then that was not for you. Genuinely from the bottom of my heart, thank you for not being such a horrible person like these other people. That is why it doesn't deserve an apology. If anyone deserves an apology, it is me.
Yeah, I did see the Snapchat rant. Someone covered it in fine detail. Yeah, I think another issue for Amber is expecting nameless, faceless audiences to apologize for their behavior. Like that's not going to happen. If someone has said something rude to you, here, pro tip, in my opinion, um, if someone says something rude about you or to you directly, and you're either within earshot or know about it, a direct confrontation is never the wrong choice. I guess nipping something in the bud. Don't let things become things. Hear something, see something, say something. You know, don't rely on your audience to champion you for you. If someone has said something negative um, to you or about you and you want to address it, don't do it in a passive way, right? Like, and it doesn't need to be aggressive necessarily. You can reach out to someone and say, hey, what you said about me, I really didn't like. And have a conversation about it. Maybe reaction channels and people who are vocal about you may have a change of opinion if you come across a bit more humane. Does she need to do that? Absolutely not. It would just be a means to an end.
I get nitpicked, bullied, rumors are spread about me. I am abused mentally online every single day. And people think because I stuck up for myself and I defended myself that I have to apologize. I don't need to come.
You can stick up for and defend yourself. Absolutely. You're well within your rights to do that. Don't let anyone take that away from you. It's just the manner in which you do it. Again, it's the argument of you don't have to do it. It's tricky because I am sympathetic towards this situation. I don't think anybody should have to be in this situation. But I feel like she just doesn't have a grasp on the best way for her to handle it. Whether or not that's ignoring it or direct confrontation with individuals or, whatever. She just seems very insular about it all, and then will that will collect to a point of rupture.
Up in here with some type of attitude, but it is unbelievable. The things that people could say about me. I understand, say things about my outfit, you don't like it, whatever, my hair looks a mess, whatever, that doesn't matter. But when you're sitting there knocking my character and lying about me and just saying things that an elementary bully would say, or an abuser, a mental abuser would say to someone.
Oh, that's a lot to unpack. Yeah, I mean, I'm not well versed on the repercussions of an audience and a content creator, and kind of the psychology, I guess, that links those two. I think she's taking big steps here, to call an audience member, or I don't know whether or not it's in reference to an audience member or just her community in general. Yeah, I feel like it's a big leap to call someone an abuser. I think that's a really poor choice of words.
When those things are being done, I'm going to defend myself because I'm done not defending myself. I have gotten several messages from people saying, start defending yourself. You do not deserve this.
Absolutely do that, but my advice would be to do it on an individual level. Have a discussion with whoever you have beef with, and ignore the rest of the comments, because it's just pixels on a page.
And I would ignore it. I would ignore it because I knew it would make it worse, but I'm at the point where what's even the point anymore? What's the point of standing down, cowering down? I'm not gonna let people walk all over me, and I will defend myself, and I will not apologize for how I felt in that Snapchat rant.
you can apologize for the actions based on your feelings. You don't need to apologize about how you feel. That's completely insular and, you know, an individual trait. It's your actions when you allow those emotions to become a little uncontrolled, I guess. She can argue whether or not it was a controlled discussion or not. Yeah, she's defending herself, I guess, by attacking others, which then, you know, creates a whole slew of issues because, you know, she shouldn't be. If she feels like she needs to defend herself, that's absolutely fine. But she quite often comes across as aggressive towards people.
Because everything I said is 100% true.
And by people, I mean the wrong people. Kind of aggressive as just to her broader audience rather than individualizing her focus.
And I will stand by that. That is for the people who have been abusing me over and over and over. That is not for the people.
Again, abuse is a tricky word. I don't necessarily agree with it. I'm not her, so I'm not experiencing it. But calling someone an abuser is pretty yeah, it's pretty forward.
Who have not been abusing me. If I hurt anyone or made anyone think differently of me because of it, like people who truly care about me and I care about them, then I am sorry. That I will apologize for. But to the Hayder Nation, not gonna happen. It's just not gonna happen because this has been going on for far too long, and the reaction channels have made this beautiful glory of justifying cruel behavior, and it's gross.
And not all reaction channels. I would argue that there are a few out there who come across as mean, cruel. If you want to throw the term bully out there, it's entirely up to her perception of it all. But yeah, she just needs to stop blanket statementing every group.
It's honestly gross, but it's so easy to sit there and judge me because while you're judging me, you're not taking a look in the mirror. You get to ignore your...
The irony of a reaction channel filming themselves is obviously they are watching their self and their commentary quite a bit.
Problems. You get to act like you're high and mighty, and you are just the most...
I have a problem with that. Whether or not a reaction channel is high and mighty is entirely up to, you know, that individual. But the funny thing is, so many people that talk about her in this format are people who have either experienced something similar, be it being heavier, be it having disordered eating, addiction, you know, any of those things. I'm really interested in the perspective of people who live in America in reference to Amber, because I'm obviously on the other side of the world and culturally it's a little bit different. But that being said, I'm interested in people from, you know, Europe who react to Amber, because it's a lot of the things that she does are so foreign. So, you know, there's a whole heap of us who are there's a whole heap of people who react and create content around Amber who are doing it because they believe that they bring a different element of discussion to her. So for me, I'm part of like quite a few people who have used her influentially, seeing the negative that her life is. That doesn't need to be cruel, but seeing the negative impact of severe weight gain, and basically saying, I will use this as proof for motivation to improve my own life.
Perfect person in the world. You don't make mistakes.
Made
you're
plain.
perfect. So during that reaction, you're in this like little fairy tale land, or like the haters during their little comments, they're in a completely different space because they're not having to deal with their own life.
So the thing, like, I wax philosophical quite a bit. It takes an hour out of my day, maybe. Life's not perfect. No one's life's perfect. Some people's lives are better. It's all about, you know, your perspective. And comparing yourself to other people is like, we're taught not to do that. It is an intrinsic psychological element, I believe, but it is one that is quite often kind of discarded or taught away from, because again, you can use motivation to say, oh well, you know, this person's got this thing and I'm going to be better than them in a year, and that's absolutely fine. Not everyone works that way, and for a lot of people, comparison is the death of joy. Is that the quote? I think so. But I'm not speaking to every reaction channel. I'm just speaking to the fun little videos I make.
Whether that be a boring life, they just need some entertainment,
Sure.
or because they're trying to find an outlet because they are miserable within themselves. And that's when
My life is a little boring, and that's okay. Boring life for some people want a boring life. I do find these things enjoyable. I derive joy from speaking to a camera, and kind of taking my collection of thoughts and putting them out there. And she always wanted to be motivational, and I'm telling her right now, I react to her out of positive motivation. I see something that I don't want to happen to me, or I don't want to be on that track again, and I talk about it.
and I start to form pity for some of these people.
Oh.
Because if you are going through something so hard that you have to literally degrade someone else, which then in fact you're degrading yourself, then that's sad. I know.
Okay, so I don't think I personally, I'm just going to respond to this as if she's talking to me now. I don't think I'm worthy of Amber's pity. And I don't think I degrade or besmirch her character by any means. I just think it's interesting media, and she's interesting.
There is a such thing as sociopaths, or people who are not empathetic, or people who aren't sympathetic.
I mean, she used the word, so that's fine. Amber, we can have empathy and sympathy for you and still criticize. Those are permissible things. I think that in this discussion she should have just mentioned criticism at least once, because a lot of this is just, it's bullying and hate, and it's disgusting, and it's you know, it's reaction channels calling me this and that. Again, I think she has a lot of challenge when it comes to separating just kind of senseless hate speech versus valid criticism. Again, a hard thing for her to differentiate, because she quite often asks for audience engagement.
I know there's people like that, and majority of the people who are part of Hayder Nation, or they troll, or they say rude things, and some reaction channels, they are those things. They lack the emotions and feelings of morally doing the right thing. And I feel like doing the right thing is standing up for people who have mental illnesses. And
so apart from using BED as a quite a broad excuse here to dismiss any of her failings, she definitely receives sympathy and empathy. It's just her actions that tone that down. And it is hard because she's under a microscope, right? Like, she's constantly being investigated for, oh, is she telling the truth? Is she doing this correctly? yeah, I think she has a bit of trouble reading the room.
Who are morbidly obese and sharing their story, morally sticking up for them.
Also, those who suffer with binge eating disorder or anorexia or bulimia, any form of eating disorder or mental health illness, sound off. Do you need champions? Like, do you need individuals to kind of white light you? Because that sounds like the argument that she's trying to make. She's trying to say that her audience, her haters, need to have more sympathy and more empathy towards her, but then also saying that every person who does not suffer from mental illness should be hyping up people who suffer with mental illness. I mean, that's a great thing to do, but everybody's an individual, and it just kind of sounds like she's speaking to a mental health community rather than and she's trying to phrase it so that she's saying what she wants, but just categorizing herself within a group.
The fact that you can sit there behind a computer, a keyboard, whatever it may be, and continue to be that rotten person shows how much you hate yourself. And I know a lot of people are going to be in delusional land like per usual, but there is no way that a happy person who loves themselves would ever want to make someone feel bad about themselves.
Here, I think that a lot of reaction content is not coming from Amber, I want to make you feel bad perspective. I think that her content is a great vehicle for people to speak on their own experiences. Criticism is a completely different outcome of that discussion. Yeah, I just don't like the way she's talking here.
It's not how this world works at all.
The irony of that is being told this isn't how the world works by Amber, who historically has shown she doesn't understand a lot of how everything works.
A therapist will tell you that.
She's seeing a therapist?
Someone with common knowledge will tell you that. A psychology class will tell you that. If you are a happy person who loves yourself and loves life, you're gonna want other people to feel that way somehow, some way.
Sure. And yes, the majority of us want to see joy and happiness in the world. Like it is a group think, I suppose. But there are outliers. People enjoy the conflict that hate brings, and unfortunately, that's the community kind of that she's surrounded by. Not entirely, but I mean, to what she's speaking on.
There is a community who is glorifying bullying, and I am the one that is being bullied.
Criticism is not bullying. And that's all that is. And I don't think discussing lived experiences, using media as that vehicle is bullying. From my understanding, bullying is like the repeated behavior of like singleization and personalization, which I could understand the kind of confusion with reactions and criticism. And I'm not saying all reaction channels are perfect, by the way. God, no, there's a lot of like ugly talk that happens. Yeah.
And it's such a juvenile word, which is totally fine. I
think normalize talking about bullying, like normalize calling people out on their shitty behavior. That's fine, but do it on a case by case basis, I guess. Don't just blanket.
29 years old, but it is happening, and a lot of people know it's happening. That is why reaction channels are popular, because the ruder you are, the more views you get. So when you go to the bank, remember that each penny you're receiving is from every single rude remark you have ever made about me or Chantel or Amy's life journey. Doesn't even matter. Because let me tell you something, fat phobia is a thing.
That's a charged phrase. Again, not a mental or physical health professional. I don't believe fat phobia exists in the aspects that she might believe. So I personally believe that fat phobia exists in the realm of self, right? So I can fear getting big again. I can fear obesity and morbid obesity and comorbidities and things that come along with being fat. I can fear those things. Do I fear another obese individual? No, not more than I'd fear any other individual. And that's where a phobia lives in, right? It is fear of. So, you know, whether or not you want to argue someone else is afraid of you because you are the size that you are, I think that's the perspective of your own kind of judgments. And again, it's a mental health thing. So how are you investigating someone else's mental health based on what, a shitty comment?
Fat phobic is a thing. Us as morbidly obese women,
super morbidly obese,
we are a target. Even if you're obese yourself, you want to target us. That's just the way life.
No. No, I'm not targeting her for anything in particular. I enjoy watching her content and have for a while, but for reasons that she might not either understand or agree with, and that's fine. And I like speaking on her content because, again, it is for me, a common lived experience that I understand being a big person. I get it. I've been there and I don't want to be there anymore, which is why I'm talking about it.
Works because there are worse people on YouTube.
Again, it's this competitive nature of like, I'm not as bad as like XYZ person, so why do I receive so much hate? I don't know, Amber. I think it's a lot of things.
Who don't have reaction channels, who don't get this type of cruelty. It's unbelievable. I'm a small channel, and there are channels with millions of people who have done horrible things, who aren't even sorry, who haven't changed at all, and the love and support keeps pouring in. But
perhaps through the lens that she sees everything, maybe the support keeps coming in. But when you, from my understanding, if you think about like the massive channels that have had, you know, had issues that cause disdain amongst their community, you know, they have entire teams of people who are there to kind of counteract that. Amber's just one person.
Since I'm not the typical attractive person, and
I don't know whether or not it's got anything to do with attraction. I can't really speak on that.
Tree trunk legs, and I'm a sodium whale, and you know, I wear 10s as panties. It's easy to make fun of me. It's easy to be rude to me. It's easy to poke at me and punch me, right? Stop judging others on their mental illnesses and on their...
You are not your mental illness, Amber. And it's particularly hard to be sympathetic for you in this instance because you don't care for yourself. And if you don't care for yourself, how can you ask your audience to care for you?
Eating disorders. It's not okay. You are not perfect. Stop calling people disgusting because they have a chemical in their brain that makes them a certain way. It's not okay. And I know I'm sitting here repeating myself and going in a circle, and I know it's gonna go in one ear and it's not even gonna go out the other one because it's just gonna hit you in the ear like this. Because you guys are delusional. My goodness, it feels so good to rant.
Yeah, it was a bit of a rant. I'm not delusional, and I'm quite happy in my life. And I do feel sad that Amber can't be happy in hers.
And I know a lot of people are gonna get mad about this video, and I'm sure a lot of people haven't even made it this far. But you guys, there's a huge group of you that I love. And I know you guys, I was gonna say I know you guys love me, but that's not true. I know you guys enjoy me as a person, and I appreciate that group. I acknowledge you guys, and I love you, and I see you guys.
Oh, kind of seemed like there was a little bit more towards the end there, but oh well. Anyway, everyone, that's the end of that discussion. Strange when it feels like the conversation is happening directly to you. Oh, Amber. And this was this year as well. This wasn't even during, Shrimpgate or any of those ridiculous times. I do feel bad for her, and I believe this was May, June, July. I think this was pre-hysterectomy as well. And I know that she received quite a bit of support during that time, and now it's kind of waning because of how she's treating herself. Yeah, it's all very messy and tricky to decipher. I don't think it's very smart for her to make all of these kind of blanket statements regarding her audience and people who react or who utilize her content. I don't have any advice that I haven't already discussed to give Miss Reid, except I really wish she would find something that would make her happy. Not as a distraction, but I just feel if her content was more than what I eat in a day, mukbang, and like even her vlogs, which I've been watching for Vlogtober, are pretty heavy on the here's my food-ness, which is fine. Like, she can make whatever content she wants, but I think it's just hard to fortify her character when all we're seeing is, the next meal, I guess. Anyway, that's it for that video, and I'll see everybody in the next one. Bye.